Hello, wonderful good morning, guys and girls. Hope you're doing absolutely incredible. So, this is a little breakdown pre-SMB. So, I have done my filtering for yesterday night and this morning. So, this is the first set of my watch list for the upcoming week. Couple of very interesting pairs ahead. So, I will cross check that with the SMB tomorrow. I will maybe swap in and out just a little bit and get that very accurate to be prepared for next week. But I thought I just record this one for my own thoughts that I have this one scheduled, and I want to like look back on what my thoughts were before the SMB. And also maybe someone of you like also enjoys this little format in preparing their own watch list for the weekend and the next week ahead. So let's get straight into it. DXY is positioned right here, as you can see. Very interesting times because I think we are now at the edge of either seeing this one completely recover or we do see the confirmed shift in sentiment and this actually going to the downside. So for right now, I'm very neutral on the DXY. I do have euro dollar, pound dollar, and in the wildcards, Kiwi dollar. Got to be a little bit careful about them, but we're going to dive into that later. So, as I said, we do have a near miss to the upside, and we also haven't bridged this inner double top. If this one would have formed like an inner double top and then moved off, I would say like this was probably the override, and we're actually fine in a short sequence. But because we left this gap as well and this overall gap, that gives it a very high chance that this in the short term might actually recover, fill those gaps, and then roll over to the downside. That could be an idea. However, as you can see, if you just look at this last piece of the puzzle, very strong sell-off. And if you go to the 4-hour chart, you can see this one is actually building sideways continuation. So we are starting to get that kind of middle section where price could actually maybe tap into that and roll over to the downside, mimicking this 1, 2, 3. I actually wouldn't be surprised about that because initially I was thinking that we actually might react very violently towards this low, form continuation, further continuation, and recover, which we didn't. So that is very interesting. So this lower time frame picture prints the idea of price actually selling off into these lows, where, as I just said, we get this as 1, 2, 3 before we then hop to the upside. And if we're going to zoom out just briefly on the daily chart, we actually have this as maybe a little bit of an expanding. This could all be the middle section. And we could technically even sell off further. So just for completion, we could technically all the way sell off further continuation further. We could be all the way down there and basically expand it here before we then shift to the upside. So don't be too biased on the long. It could take a longer time to fill these little gaps here. So I think next week we're going to have our answer. What I'm mostly interested about is if this how this one reacts in here, if this is the recovery or if this is like the continuation. So that leads me over to euro dollar, which I do have a couple different scenarios mapped out. Let's see what we shape up with. So we reacted to this low, we pushed up, and we are now in this continuation phase. Overall, I'm pretty much neutral on this one. This is definitely not the best lower time frame structure, to be fair. We can see price is a little bit forming this like exhaustive 1, 2, 3 channel on the 4-hour chart, where we could technically, this one I have to say is quite of a high risk trade, to be fair. This is like an intra pattern range trade, like a 3 to 1 if you want. So after we calm down, this would be into or maybe pre-London. little M15 flag there. Definitely make sure you are positioned below that little wick. And you can take this one with a 3-1 in this range. But then what I'm more so interested about is if we actually make our way to the downside and maybe towards Tuesday or New York session Monday, we're going to get that little reverse on this larger flag, because this is a range I definitely don't want to miss. And if we're going to zoom out a little bit, this would actually make sense with 1, 2, and 3. So in terms of patterns, this is all I want to see. This is like the main trade, which is on for maybe late Monday, maybe Tuesday. On pound dollar, we basically have the same, but it is not as clean, to be fair. On pound dollar, we actually have this double top, which we don't on euro dollar. So that gives this little range sell off a little bit more credibility. So little 3-1, maybe even 5-1, depending if we get back, if we're going to get that 10 pip stop loss. We do have our 5-1 in here. But I don't want to fantasize over this little like range play. I'm also interested about this one because there is a lot more confirmation in scope available. And overall, if we're going to zoom out a little bit, same as on euro dollar, this as a 1, a 2, a 3 would make absolutely perfect sense. And then we're going to see how the DXY forms by that time. So euro dollar, pound dollar, pretty much the same forecast. We're going to keep it very simple here. Dollar CAD, daily chart. This actually might take a day or two to really play out. You can see daily chart. We have reacted to this major value area, push down, steep continuation, next continuation, not the cleanest start. But then we actually dropped out of this mess and we're now in free floating waters. And now it's the question if this has like this is more of a momentum play, to be fair, because obviously driven by NFP, we do have a lot of momentum. So price is in motion. We don't need to wait for the perfect like retest. This takes like on the 4-hour chart like 3 days to form. Obviously, this would be ideal, but we don't need to get that. This is more of a momentum play. And I'm going to zoom into the M15 chart here. And if we do get this like 1, 2, 3 with this mini hook point available, maybe into 8 a.m., 7 a.m. London Open, I would actually give this a shot because we are very well in momentum and there is nothing on the left-hand side, nothing major to stop this one, to be fair. And I wouldn't be surprised if this one, I mean, sometime, like some moment, it will pull back, but I wouldn't be surprised if this one just keeps on selling off, maybe forms some larger structures. We're gonna exit this one for like maybe 5-1 or whatever, and then we're gonna wait a little bit until the 4-hour chart gives us confirmation and we can take further scale-ins. Yeah, so Dollar Cat is a momentum play on my watch list. Kiwi Cat. Kiwi Cat, I'm also looking for this to the short side. Obviously, we do have the daily value area, and I do have a daily play still running on this one. But for the upcoming week, I want to take a look at the lower time frame for an actual entry. Let's put this one to the side. I think this one is my preferred entry, like the M15 three-touch little AFT play here. So this overall sequence is pretty messy, but it is Kiwi Cat, so I don't want to give it too much credit. All I can say is we are positioned right here. Price has retested that in this little wick, and now we need this little flag as confirmation, and I wouldn't be surprised if this one actually drops out quite heavily. One thing I do have to keep in mind is, which I just hide it, is because we are so corrective, this could have a corrective start in the week. So we do have an area. This is actually the area where we do have this mini double top and we do have the running channel. And if we like get something deliberate with this running channel, I want to point your attention to this one. We can actually take an entry where you say, this is all messy, this is all corrective, but then you get this little 1, 2, 3 at the end of the running channel. And most of you would have maybe laid this pair aside, but then this one drops out very, very aggressively. And so the running channel is something I'm going to forecast as well. So that is going to be very interesting. Euro Kiwi is also like on my watch list, just because we haven't really taken out the low just yet. We just wicked towards it. And there is price action forming this continuation, drop down. This was a little bit messy, but now we are positioned right there at the edge of the open waters, and there is this move to the downside, which I want to play. So on the lower time frames, just very briefly, this sequence was a little bit messy, but now we cleared this one to the downside, and I want to see if we're going to form lower time frames continuation. Just there, retesting back end of this ray line, and that is basically the trade I am aiming for. So let's see if we get that. However, this could like pull back into its corrective phase. Then I'm not interested about this one. Dollar Swiss, I am still holding my daily position on Dollar Swiss as well, so 2 daily positions. We do have a very great area of value. We started to push down. This is the first larger 4-hour continuation. You can see price reacted not the best technically, but reacted to this double top. We pushed down, and now I am looking for this as the 1, the 2, the 3 playing out to the downside. Going into the M15 for the actual entry, we're going to wait a little bit for this to form middle section, push back into the retest of this little area with the double top. So I want both of these areas to be covered with my stop loss. And then it's basically just play this to the downside. I think it's pretty easy trade. And a nice little scale in that could fall under the radar pretty easily. I am actually not too worried about this low. I mean, technically the flag starts on a wick, which is a slight downside, but also technically this is the low, and we're entering at the top. So this is the 1, the 2, the 3 I want to play. Nothing really too special about this one. Let's see if we get that. Kiwi dollar is more of an alternative to euro dollar and pound dollar, where you can technically on the 4-hour chart see this accumulation sideways, and I want to play this 1, 2, 3 into these next highs. That is my aim. On the lower time frames, technically you can take this one as an entry, which I just outlined on pound dollar and euro dollar in the beginning. But I think I will stick to pound dollar and euro dollar because they're a little bit more clean if we're going to take this range play. But if we do get this little hover in here, or for our full engulfing candle, this would be like the structure you can take the 4-hour entry on as well. So any trade around these areas, we're good to go. We're basically playing this 1, 2, 3 into these next highs. So very, very simple range to play. This could take a day or 2 to form, so don't rush it. Euro CAD is not with the best sequence. So we're now getting to the pairs that are not as clean as the top 6. So that's why they're more my additionals, my wildcards to say. So we do have a gap in here, which which makes it a little bit more risky because this could technically recover and fill this gap. But on the flip side, price reacted to this range, and I want to play now this. Where are we? There. I want to play this 1, the 2, the 3. That is my aim. It's not really the cleanest. So we're going to wait a little bit on the lower time frames to have like 1, 2, 3 into the retest of this previous low. Maybe going to take a day or two, but if we're going to take our stop loss in here, I would be a fan of a little bit wider stop loss on this pair. But then there is this move I want to play to the downside. Maybe we're going to cap our trade at this wick for like a 3 to 1 because we don't really know what's going to happen around this level. Cut yen is, I'm not looking to enter a cut yen anytime soon, but I just want to have it on watch because this is the cleanest of the yen pairs in my eyes because we do have a large gap to the upside to this major value area. We pulled back quite correctively and now price reacted to this low, and we can see on the daily chart it is actually pretty bullish. So these candles do print a very bullish sentiment to me. However, lower time frame, I mean, this is quite ugly. But if we're gonna like get this right now, maybe crossing that, we can take a look at this to the upside. Or if we're gonna have like a steeper pullback followed by an AFT entry, so we have a little bit of additional confluence. I'm actually happy buying CAD yen, but I want to be a little bit more careful about this just because what has happened in the past 2 weeks. And to finish things off, GA on the 4-hour chart. This one is also like a little bit flexible because we do have the gap to the upside. And this is basically the middle section for 1, 2, 3 into the high, which we're going to play. But within this middle section, there is this trade, this 1, 2, 3, before we shift our bias. That is basically the trade I'm waiting for. So I'm going to take a 1 hour risk entry or 4 hour in there with 1, 2, and 3. That is basically my aim. So 25 stop loss more than sufficient. And yeah, basically there is like a 3 to 1, or if you want to play it into the low, like a 5 to 1 available. So that covers my whole watch list. I've been just like roaming it down. I hope you enjoyed this one actually. So please feel free to leave a comment if you got any questions, if you got different pairs on watch, and maybe even if this helped you preparing for the SMB. So obviously I'm going to compare this one to the SMB myself tomorrow, but this is the watch list. I would be very happy and very easy to go into the next week, even on my own, if there wouldn't be an SMB. So that is my preparation. Gotta see you tomorrow and latest on Monday for the morning forecast. So have an amazing weekend. I'm gonna go into practice camp with dancing for the next 2 days. So I'm gonna be very busy. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Have an amazing weekend. I gotta catch you on Monday. Take care and safe trading. Bye bye.